Okay.
Remember correctly.
No, there were no minutes.
Gareth, how you doing? Good, good.
Oh, wait, were there? Were there minutes?
Yeah,
in the package?
Two meetings. Is that possible?
I'll have to, I can verify it.
Would you?
I'll check and
Would
verify
you?
it for you.
I haven't been attending lately, but I
So-
thought we have a new year, so
October 1st.
October 1st.
So you want me to verify that
No,
you're
if
absent?
it's October 1st is the time, then you're probably right.
I don't see that.
Okay. Are we ready, Junior? Okay. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the January 2013 meeting of the CRA Advisory Committee. Can we begin, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have a call to order, please, and a roll call?
Sure.
Clint Bauer. Here. Blanca Cabot. Absent. Kenneth Each.
Yeah.
Mary Esteem Irvin.
Here.
Michael McDermott. Present. Dr. Enoch Millian.
Here.
Jeffrey Mondesir. Present. Rosalind Philippe.
Here's Blanca.
Here's Blanca. Okay. Blanca present, please. Rosalind Philippe. Absent. Okay. Clark Reynolds. Here. Lucy Tondro. Absent. Mark Wolin. Okay. All right, can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
The minutes.
Which agenda do we have?
The minutes.
We're
The
doing,
the amended agenda is the one.
All right, so the clarification, the agendas we got in the mail are not the correct agenda.
correct.
I didn't get one in the mail. That's why I called.
The one you have.
Okay, the one that's in front of you is tonight's agenda.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Okay,
You have the
Second.
minutes.
we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve last month's minutes?
I just.
For clarification, now the minutes were included in the packets that were sent to the
Right.
House, not in the packet we're looking at.
Exactly. Well, did anybody not read them?
Yeah, I read the minutes. I just want to double check. Maybe I was wrong. In terms of adding the cleaner and propane gas
Yeah.
company on the agenda last week, I think I started to make a motion, but then I was uncomfortable with it. But the minute reads that I've made that motion and no one seconded. I don't believe that, unless I'm incorrect,
Okay. Did you have a copy of the minutes here?
online.
Because what I have here in my notes is that Blanca made that motion that didn't get a second. So if I put in the minutes that
Yeah,
it was
you put
you,
it
I
was
made a
me.
mistake.
Oh,
It
okay.
says
So you
moved
put
by
that it was me.
Mrs.
Okay.
Steve Irvin, seconded by.
No,
that
no,
didn't
not
get
that
it.
one, the
It
very
did.
first one.
The very
That
first one.
I
Yeah, that's
motioned
what I
to
have
put it
here.
on the
It's
agenda.
according to my
There was no
notes, it says.
second.
Right. But I didn't, that's
Okay.
what I thought. Okay.
Okay.
To clarify that.
All right, clarification made. Okay. That being said, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minute as amended.
As
yes.
amended, yes, okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. For tonight's meeting, a request from the city manager that we address agenda item 2 first.
Behind you.
And you'll also have in front of you a memorandum from our our CRA attorney, Mr. Zelkowitz.
That's agenda item, because the memorandum.
Everybody have a chance to read it?
Put it back. Okay.
Mr. Chair, is the applicant here?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
You're saying that based upon prior precedent practices, we've never grant money to people who are not commercial owners? of
Which
the buildings?
which item are we on?
Item 2.
Item 2 is which one?
Beauty
Beauty
salon.
The beauty salon, you want to go straight to item 2 as opposed to item 1?
Yes.
He asked that we address that.
Okay. Are we going to hear from staff, or you want me to read my report into the record?
Yes.
Okay. This is a request from PI Beauty Express, Inc. to rehabilitate the property located at 12350-12360 Northwest 7th Avenue, North Miami, Florida, 33168. PI Beauty Express, Inc. has submitted an application for an $80,000 rehabilitation grant for the property located at 12350-12360 Northwest 7th Avenue. Is this on? Yes.
Yeah.
Pursuant to the program guidelines, rehabilitation grants, which are the $80,000 grants, are only available to the owners of eligible commercial buildings. The property is owned by Starfire Enterprises, LC. Pursuant to a commercial lease agreement dated July 18, 2012, PI Beauty Express is a tenant. Please note that the Florida Department of State does not have any record of the existence of PI Beauty Express, Inc., but does show a related company named Perfect Image Salon and Spa, Inc. Pursuant to a commercial rehabilitation grant agreement dated November 29, 2008, Starfire Enterprises, LC previously received an $80,000 rehabilitation grant from the North Miami CRA to rehabilitate the property. In order to approve this application, the following waivers to the North Miami Business Assistant Program guidelines would need to be expressly approved by the board. As you know, you're the advisory committee, so you would be advising them as to whether or not to waive those guideline requirements. Number 1, a waiver to the provision that commercial rehabilitation grants are only available to the owners of eligible commercial buildings. Number 2, a waiver to the provision that buildings that have been previously assisted by the North Miami CRA or the City of North Miami in the last 5 years are generally not eligible. The recommendation of the CRA attorney is based upon the precedential effect of the foregoing waivers. From a legal perspective, it is not recommended that the foregoing waivers be granted, as these are basic principles of the grant program. The North Miami CRA staff will separately provide its recommendation from a policy perspective as to whether or not they would recommend waiving these provisions of the program.
Okay.
Well, I guess at this point, maybe the presentation should be made, but I guess, my question is, I think we've already have set a precedent to allow this to happen. When we say that provisions, that commercial grants are only available to the owners, we've already set precedent. We gave Mocha Cafe money, and they're not the commercial owner of the building. 2 is we've already extended and gave other businesses money that has not been with that in the 5 years. I certainly respect what the attorney is saying, but precedent has already been set. We've already done it. So I just wanted to make note of that. It has been done before, whatever this board decides, but on those two provisions, this would not be the first time that it has taken place if this advisory board so wishes to take that into consideration.
And I would certainly agree. It has been done once before with Mocha Cafe with respect to the provision of commercial rehabilitation grants being only given to the building owners. Those were waived by the board. I mean, the board would need to waive it.
Right.
I mean, we understand it's been done once before. I'm not aware of giving a grant to someone, though, twice within a 5-year period.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Kiosco.
It has? All right, I'm not aware of it, and I don't...
Kiosco on West Dixie.
The Spanish restaurant on West Dixie Highway.
Oh,
The
¿qué
coffee
otro?
shop on West Dixie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was that?
That was a couple of years ago, actually.
Quite a few years.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not disagreeing with the advice that the attorney has given. I just wanted to say that when it says based upon the precedent that it may set, that you don't think that it's the first time when you make your decision. It has happened before. So that's my only point that I wanted to bring out. I wanted you to listen objectively to the applicant without feeling that upon reading this is the first time that it would have ever happened. It's not. I certainly agree that the spirit of the CRA, it is a rule that does exist, and as a rule that does exist, it's probably there. And I certainly have not been the CRA director long enough to determine why that was put in place, but certainly for some reason it was a rule that was put in place by someone for some specific purpose. However, we have done it before, and I just wanted to at least let you know that we have done it before so that you could make an objective decision.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
a couple of questions though, and I don't know if staff's going to be answering
Is
those.
staff here? Is Dan Lima here?
What was done with the previous grant, number one? And in looking at what they've submitted here, they're asking for 80,000, but 50% of the total cost, which none of these are near $160,000. So how can they ask for 80,000?
Well, I think those are other issues for you to take into consideration when you're making your decision. I will tell you that at the first project, it was the old Carville ice cream. It's when I went out there on site. I did speak with the building owner as well. It's almost a standalone project. However, it's owned by the same person. That is in and of itself just shows some sort of need, I guess, in the future that when these commercial owners decide to use one complete folio, for instance, if Mr. Clark decided to use the same business name and same folio for two separate structures or structures that were,
I understand part of it,
yeah.
But my second question is really more important, is they're clearly asking for 80,000. But the
That's-
application clearly checked rehabilitation, which clearly says in the policy, 50% of the total cost. That's not 80,000.
Yeah.
Documents submitted.
That's something for
So
you to.
if there's additional documentation, we need to have that documentation.
There's none what we have given you, but I think that's something for you all to take into consideration after you hear the
Well,
applicant.
now I go back to our original contention, though, is why are the city staff putting this forward with incorrect information, and then we end up not being able to make a decision again?
I don't think, it's not incorrect.
Well, it is. None of these quotes come up to over 160,000.
And I think
They're
that's-
asking for 80,000.
Right.
That's a basic of the grant process.
What we've done is if the applicant does not meet certain guidelines, or if there is certain waivers or provisions that need to be made, we bring that to your attention so that we don't exclude them or prohibit them from coming forth at all. So basically what you're recognizing is that yes, it's not a $160,000 project. Nonetheless, the applicant is aware of the 50%. Nonetheless, they are still asking for it, with the understanding that here's the rules, and if those rules or if there's any waivers that need to be made, it would need to be done at a request
Then
level.
address that additional waiver to our attorney, because that waiver is not requested in this letter. There's two waivers, that was the third waiver. So we should have asked our attorney's opinion on that at the time.
Well, the application indicates at one point that the total cost to build and establish this project is $160,000,
The application
which I believe is where the basis for the $80,000 comes from. It goes on to further state that the remaining funds will go towards the purchase of brand new furniture. And
That's not
Well-
allowable under this grant.
Yeah, see, I think if two things. First off, we're back into a situation again that we were the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, that we are bringing forward something that doesn't have sufficient information. There's a lot of points that need clarifying, and we're going to be wind up probably after some time and some discussion. I don't want to dissuade the person from coming up and making the application. We're going to be spending time and effort and wind up probably postponing it at the very least until we get the information that everybody wants. That's number one. Number two is that we need to be so careful in 2013 on a going forward basis that we don't continue to waive things and just wave those red flags at the county commissioners, who are just sitting there already unhappy. We need to make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's, and make sure that when something comes to us, that we don't have questions that are still unresolved and unanswered. I know that it may be a hardship on the people to wait the extra time, but that's part of the process.
I don't quite understand what is it that you don't have before you. It's a $160,000 project. They're asking for 80.
Well, I don't see any. Where are the bids?
The bids are in there.
No.
They're there, but they don't add up to
They don't.
160,000.
Yeah.
I think that the applicant only submitted you the 80, knowing that they are only eligible for the 80, or have 50%.
Yeah, but if
But they
the
need to
project
add
is
up
going
to
to be worth 106,000, why are they asking for 80? They
Well,
might be eligible for 80, but
unless the applicant can answer that, whether something's supposed to go for furniture and how much is supposed to go for the rest of that
But
cost.
see, furniture isn't on the list.
but we told you the
Furniture
furniture was
at
not
all.
eligible.
No, zero, zilch.
Right.
that would,
And
if approved for the $80,000 with the money going for the furniture, that would be an additional waiver that you would have to grant.
No.
And I think the 80 is for what you have there in your bid package. The 3 bids, the 3 quotes, that is for the scope of the work.
So I guess the question we would need to ask the applicant is whether they're requesting a waiver of the 50-50 contribution, that they want us to give them more than half of what it's going to cost, or whether they're asking for us to waive the requirement that money not go for furniture. Because if the money is, if the 80,000 is going to go towards whatever it is, the 106,000, we're going to require, paid and canceled checks up to that amount, and that's what we'll reimburse on, up to the 80,000, if that's the waiver on that. Or if she wants to buy furniture with the money, then we would have to waive that.
I recommend that we hear from the applicant, their proposal.
Yes, Clint?
For clarification purposes, Steve, did you see what was submitted there? Because they're showing that they're an existing corporation, so is that Is what they've submitted here correct or not? Because you're saying that they're not.
There's no corporation shown at the Florida Secretary of State. If the applicant has information to show that there is a corporation with that name, that perhaps the state is wrong, or is going to agree to create the company. But at this point in time, I couldn't find anything in the state's records that PI Beauty Express Inc. exists. As I mentioned, there's another company.
Do you have
That
proof
exists.
that you're registered with Florida? Do you have the seal?
In the packet, there's electronic
Yeah, and
articles from
I'm gonna look
corporation.
online.
Yeah, but are they certified? Are they in?
It's filed November 6, 2012, Secretary of State.
I thought what I saw at sunbiz.org,
Yeah, and
I
that's,
saw.
I kind of verified that.
Okay.
That's what I saw. I saw on sunbiz.org about a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I asked for the updated package. I hadn't received it as of, just now.
Okay. All right. Let's
Yeah.
proceed, ma'am. If you can go ahead and please introduce yourself, your name, and.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Priscilla Lozama. I understand that you have the package, but I just want to hand you this so it can be easier. So just go ahead. Thank you.
We have it online here. It's online.
Okay.
So-
And also, before I started, I just want to say one thing.
All right. They
you.
must have missed
Thank
it
you
when
very
they
much.
left. That's all I can say.
It was just filed in
All
November.
right, I'll amend the
No, it
memo
was
for
filed
tomorrow.
on November 6th, yeah, date filed, effective
Okay.
November 6th.
Yes, before I start, one point that Mr. Steven mentioned, it's about the money for the furniture. I specifically said on the letter, probably it has been misunderstood, that my project altogether will cost $160,000. However, I have all the proposal if you take a look at the proposal, and when I said that, okay, the remaining of my $160,000 will go through my furniture, not about the money that I'm asking for, because I know definitely I have read all the procedures, what exactly what I need to do. So when I said the remaining will go to not the $80,000 that I'm asking you. It's for the remaining of the $160,000. That's the rest of my money will go and purchase my furniture, because I know definitely.
So the balance of the difference between the 108 and the 160 is furniture, which you will pay for. Is that what you're saying?
See that again, sir?
The difference between the 108,000 that's listed here as construction cost and the 160,000, which you're saying is what the project will cost, is going to be spent on furniture. And you're going to pay for that yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm paying. Yes,
Okay.
the
So
$80,000 will help me to.
No, what I'm asking you is the total cost of the project, including your furniture, is $160,000.
Yes,
Okay, and 108,000 of that cost is construction.
yes.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chairman, can I clarify? So,
Sure.
a portion of the $80,000 that you're seeking from the CRA will be used to pay for furniture, correct?
No,
So,
She doesn't
So-
understand.
No, she understands.
okay, so then you're seeking a waiver of the 50-50 matching contribution. You're asking for 80,000 to go towards 106,000.
too good to. Yes, I guess.
All right,
yes.
because the program is a 50-50 match. All right, so typically on $106,000, the most we could approve would be $53,000.
Which one is 106?
Your bids.
Well,
I
there-
think your
there's
lowest
different ones.
bid,
There's one for
Construction
124,
costs.
one for 117.
well, we would require the lowest bid to be used, which is 106, correct, or 107?
107.
108? So, under our program, the most we could give would be $54,000, because it's a 50-50 match. So you're asking us to waive that requirement then?
So okay, if I understand, it's 50% of the proposal, not from the cost of the project, no?
Correct.
Correct.
Construction costs.
Yeah, construction
Construction
costs.
cost only.
We're
It's only
currently at just
construction costs.
construction costs. nothing.
Okay.
So you're asking for a waiver of the 50/50?
Yes.
Okay.
Senator, let me ask you a question. The way that grant reads, it says up to 80,000.
Correct.
It just has to be 80,000.
Correct.
So why is a waiver required if it says up to?
Because the guidelines basically say for a rehabilitation grant, you can get up to 50% of the total cost of the interior and/or exterior improvements to the owners of eligible commercial buildings in an amount up to 80,000.
Right.
So the only waiver will be because she's a tenant, she's not an owner. But the amount is not surpassed.
No.
It's
No, the way it's only construction costs. So according to what she submitted,
106 is construction.
Not
instruct, so
fixtures
we
and
can only give 50% of that. Now, if her construction cost was high, if her construction cost was 160,000, we could give up to 80.
Up to 80, that's it.
Right.
Make sure she understands.
I understand very well. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Allen.
I mean, for example, on the Norgetown project, the original construction costs were 112,000. We gave a $56,000 grant.
Was a waiver required for that project?
No,
Because it's 50%.
because 50%.
But a waiver will be required for the additional. We should not be discussing that now because that's another one coming up.
Yep.
That's next. However, a waiver will be required in that case as well.
If she wants the full 80,000, she requires the waiver.
A waiver from what? The requirements of the grant?
She
The
wants the
50-50
additional
match.
To include fixtures and furnishing?
No,
She's not including it.
she's
No.
going to put the full 80,000 towards the $108,000 construction costs.
Okay, I get it.
But
This is what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Clint.
Go ahead, Joe.
But she's not getting 80,000. She's only getting 53. because
She's-
106
She's
is
requesting.
construction.
She's requesting 80, although the grant only says she could get 54. She's asking for more. She's asking for a waiver. She's asking
Yes.
for a waiver.
Yes.
That's the waiver.
Which,
Right.
again, I
Yes.
go back to saying that waiver should have went to our attorney before it came to us then too. So,
Well, let me say this. You're saying before something comes before this board is aware of it. You have it. So she's requesting a waiver. Either you're going to accept it or either you're not. To whether or not it has to go before the attorney is making it very clear that if you give her over half of that amount, it's a waiver. So whether or not you know it today, tomorrow, next week, it's not going to change anything. I don't want applicants to, because we discover that something has to be waived, we got to start back over. You know it. You can either make a decision, yes or no. You're going to either waive the 50% or you're going to you're not going to do it. It's just that, well, it's either going to waive or not waive.
And the other two waivers as well.
And the other two waivers as well.
Yeah, because we have to wait that she's not the owner of the.
If you decide, if
Right.
this board decides to do that, if you recommend, all you're doing is recommending it. If you recommend that, yes. If you don't want to do any of it, then that's the recommendation we have. But we're just simply saying, here's an additional recommendation now that we have clarity from this applicant.
All right, for the sake of time.
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
How much job creation is this going to?
Over 15.
15 employees? And how many of them will be North Miami residents?
North Miami residents will have the priority.
What does that mean? So out of the number of 15, how many of them would be North Miami residents?
Well, I have not put the request, but I know definitely I'm going to concentrate on for North Miami residents.
Well, this is going to follow the purchasing procedures that we have established in the city. At least 10% of the employees will be residents of North Miami.
But I think if she wants to get more out of that,
Then she can put it on the table.
put that on the table.
well, she has in her letter. Just for clarification purposes, doesn't the city also have other economic development grants available for business development?
No.
No? All right, I hate to be difficult, but I want to make a motion that this request is not approved.
I second that.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Discussion, please. I agree with I shouldn't say I agree. I understand your position, and I ask that we consider this. I know this area, and there's blight and slum. That's my only consideration for waiver. I don't like this waiver stuff, but I've been in that, I know that area very well. So that's why I asked about job
the
creation.
one waiver
and
that, that I would like to not waive, the other ones I'd be willing to consider is the 5-year requirement. They could apply in November of 2013 according to this. That building got a grant in 08, November of 2008.
Exactly. How many bites of the apple? We're not the Small Business Administration. We're the Community Redevelopment
So I
Agency.
totally agree, Mary,
Right,
for the other
but this
reasons.
is our city
Mr.
as
Chairman,
well, and this is our city, and if a small business, like I said, I'm one of the first ones that I don't like waivers.
I agree.
But in this case, on 7th Avenue, that needs a
I'm
lot
quite
of
familiar with
attention.
that area.
Right.
I'm
And
quite
it's
familiar
been
with it.
vacant and like that for years.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's gonna come there,
7th Avenue?
yeah.
6th Avenue?
7th Avenue,
Northwest
right
Seventh.
there, 25th, right there.
It's where the old Carvel
Yeah,
ice
it's
cream.
been-
Well,
it's
we're
been
assuming
vacant
that
for
nobody
quite
else would want that site.
Right, you know. she's
I
making
have
a
to
move.
agree with Marie, and I only brought this applicant to the table, looked at it only because of that issue. I went out there on the site. I went out there on 7th Avenue. We need to do something on 7th Avenue. I spoke with Commissioner Monestein's office. They want to know what we're doing. South of 119th Street, when you go down around 103rd moving up, they got a Foot Locker. They got a Foot Locker. They got other businesses that have started to come in there. You have a major corridor, but when you get to 119th Street, especially between 119th and 125th, we have an issue. You got the Wendy's restaurant on the east side. South of that, you got a business that I can't even get in contact with the business owner. It's not open. It's a bunch of pottery. It's prime spot. We have to do something with. Now we've got the Pollo Tropical coming over there on the west side of the street. It's momentum. I spoke with the owner of that building. I would have been reluctant. I would have been thinking along the way you all are. And I went to speak to the owner. That Carvel ice cream, I think that it's a good spot. It's called something else. She's got it up and going. She's got the tenants there. So you're going to have a shopping center there. You're going to have a good anchor there, and you need to keep the momentum going. So that's up to this. I'm just giving you information, and certainly respect whatever decision you make. But I want to give you information before you make a decision that we do need to get that little plaza going.
But I
this is
just
what
don't
I'm
want to. I just don't want to see us. First off, we're assuming that no other business will be attracted there, and secondly, which is an assumption on our part, that nobody else would want to go there. And secondly, I don't want to trying to make things work by giving waivers all the time does not make us look good. Okay, it really doesn't. Okay, go ahead.
All I'm saying is I understand. Like I said, I don't like waivers. But in this case, the only thing that I would say, if we could, a friendly amendment, we can go ahead and waive that requirement for the commercial owner. We don't have to give her more. We don't have to give her 80. Let's keep it at 50%. If this is what she really wants to do, I'm sure she'll find a way. I mean, if we could come to that compromise where we don't give her 80, we give her 50. We don't waive that, but then we allow her to have her business there. And the only thing that I would require of her is at least 50% of those employees to be North Miami residents.
Okay,
Yes?
wait. Yes, he had his hand up first. Hold on. Go ahead.
This is all well and good. I like to redo 119th Street from the expressway over to Northwest 7th Avenue. I had ideas for that. That whole area is blighted, and I'm just glad to see that Polo Tropical came in there. We are not the Small Business Administration. There has to be some skin in the game. Okay? The requirement was 50% we're gonna provide 50% of the construction costs. Nothing for furniture and fixtures, nothing for anything else. That's the way it should be, okay? This building and this property owner, the owner of that building already got a bite at the apple in 2008. We have the rules, the regulations are there. I sympathize with the very noble endeavor. I go to the Small Business Administration, see if they'll fund it for you, but it's not incumbent upon us. We have other areas in the city which need to be rehabilitated also, and those people play by the rules. And I don't know, how many times are we gonna go back and waive this? This is, to me, it's clear cut. I know how I'm gonna vote on it. I'm against it. I'm against giving any waivers on this deal. The guys already got, 2008, they already got this thing, and I don't see any extraordinary circumstances here that prevail that we should waive this. I'm sorry, that's my opinion on it.
Dr. Enoch?
Okay, I drove myself 7 hours, it was really dead. So it was dead. So the other day, about 2 couple homeless were sleeping down there. So therefore, since she's here, I understand that you guys talking about river. Let's give an opportunity. Someone like this bring a job in the city. Let's give an opportunity, and to, even though she's not the owner of the building, I understand that. Let's give an opportunity to place to bring the building very nice, and then give an opportunity also for those who do a job and come to work. And because otherwise, we always drive down and we see homeless in the city, then this is not fair for our city. Let's give the young lady an opportunity to.
Well, how much do we give her? We give her the whole bulk? We give her the $80,000?
Well,
Come on.
She didn't ask for $80,000, but
Okay, we have a all right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Clint?
Nobody from the city is here to tell us what was previously done in this building, right?
Which one? I can tell you what was done.
Yeah, what was done? 2008?
That's the Carvel. That's the back in 2008. She's gotten money. There's should be a picture in there. That's the cosmic cone. Yes, that's what was done.
Okay.
That's a separate business.
That's still going?
Yes, they're up in.
They're renovating it now.
That's being renovated now.
All right. Then my next question is, none of the proposals nor the pictures submitted show what they're doing to the exterior of this building to improve it. All of it's interior work. You're telling us we're improving the exterior of this building on this blighted street. That's the purpose of this grant, not to create jobs, which is a great thing to do, but that's not what this grant is here for.
I can tell you that I will be making every effort to the CRA board to do a corridor plan. We did have a meeting in the community the week before, 2 weeks ago, to show the corridors of what we need to do. 7th Avenue was that area. We did one at Gwen Margolis. So our corridors is Biscayne Boulevard, 125th Street, West Dixie.
That's always been
right
the thrust of what we're doing. But this particular grant is not for that purpose.
I agree. However, if we're going to do a facade. Right, that's what I just mentioned, the master plan, the corridor. But if
so theoretically, this owner could come back next year and ask for more money to do the facade of the building.
I think that it's, it depends on how.
Business will be in existence 3 years from now, and a new tenant won't come and ask us for more money.
In answer to your question, we gave them, in 2008, we gave them $80,000. The owner. So we already gave them $80,000. Huh?
To do what, please?
Well, let's see. They did impact
picture.
glass frames and transoms, including hardware, new downspouts, 4 metal doors and hardware, stucco work, interior drywall finish and paint, exterior paint service, exterior concrete work, form, pour, and finish.
That's the picture you see here.
Just this part.
Right.
That's just that.
Well,
part.
no, you got two sides. That building has.
There's another angle over
here.
There's
no new windows in this part of the building.
Yeah, those are new windows.
Okay.
Those
this
all
part
of.
is new, but not this part.
No. That's and I'm sorry, Cliff. Is it Cliff? Clinton? That's why I wanted to give you the information of going out there on the site. This ice cream place is basically, it's attached, but it's almost a standalone establishment in and of itself. It's been closed for years. It does have, being an ice cream store, it may have the makeup. They've got somebody there.
So, is the business going to be located
Where is the
where
business actually
Cosmic
gonna
Cones
be?
is?
Next door.
Oh, next door,
Next
that,
to-
with the window with the bars on it?
And there's another one next to it too. It's two
Yes.
together.
two
Window Mart
bays.
moved.
Okay,
To,
yeah, that's where it's gonna be?
Yes,
And
the
then
two.
there's another window place where Window Mart was, but they took only half of the place.
Right. So there's two
Excuse
bays
me,
there, two
I don't-
doors.
Ma'am, excuse me. The Window Mart has 2 units, and I'm taking 2 units next to the Window Mart. And after that is the Carvel ice cream. I only showed a picture of one. It's twice this.
Right.
Those two, yes.
So I guess the Clinton, and I think you're making a very good point. I feel that it's difficult. We've tried to do some movement on 7th Avenue. Unless we have stores there, it's ludicrous to do any type of facade master plan unless you have businesses there internally, so that you can come behind. I think we would be rolling the dice to say let's fix up the outside, and then hope we get a tenant. I can tell you 10 projects in 3 different cities where that's not working. You can go up on you can go on Sheridan.
You can go on the Avenue 80.
Right.
How many
Property owners
Build
do
it,
nothing
and they
to
won't
improve his property,
Nothing.
to
Absolutely
improve the
nothing.
market.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
All right,
We're-
John, wait a minute,
we're
wait.
giving his-
Do you have is this under
Well, I
discussion?
will say one thing, just from my experience with tenants, is that a beauty salon, it can always be rented. I mean, if it doesn't work for her, if it's been built out, there'll be someone in the wing somewhere to take
How
it
do
along.
we get the money back if the business fails?
Well, we're not, the issue is that the business continues. If it doesn't continue with her, it continues with someone else. It's a very, very easy item to rent.
But-
and to keep going.
But
Just-
Clark, I think my point is that if this was a new restaurant owner like we've experienced several months ago, I would be reluctant. Again, I only brought this applicant to the table because of the experience, the 25 years, that location, what's around that area. That particular strip is going to be an issue. If this was somebody who just got out of cosmetic school and this is something first time they wanted to do, I wouldn't even brought this to you. This is 25 years. Second on top of that, that shopping center has to be one of the anchors moving forward south from the Pollo Tropical. It's an opportunity. We have to keep the momentum going. Whatever you decide, we have to keep the momentum going.
Okay.
But there are a lot of people that are interested in running that kind of operation, so I don't think our money would be wasted. There's no chance, I don't think, that even if something happened to the applicant, someone else would pick it up and continue to run it
Yeah.
and stay.
I didn't want to bring you somebody that would be here today and gone in a year.
Okay, Blanca, you have a comment, and then we got to close this
Do you know that
discussion.
there's a beauty salon 3 doors down from where she's going?
Yes.
Okay.
And
The lady is not, she's struggling to maintain her business.
I don't think she's struggling.
Well,
Well,
But
she's the banker, she should know.
I'm sorry, I did have one other question just for the applicant. Where is the Perfect Image Salon and Spa located?
Miramar.
Miramar, okay. Thank you.
Where's, I'm sorry?
Miramar.
Okay. So, yeah, we have a motion and a second, all right?
What is the motion?
The motion is to reject her proposal, okay? That doesn't mean she can't come back with the corrections, but as it stands. Okay? All right, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's
Show of hands for ayes.
Wait.
Ayes first.
Who approves the motion
Yeah.
to reject the application?
It was Clint made the motion,
Second.
and Kenny,
So-
and Kenny
Four.
seconded it.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
You
Okay.
voting, Mike, or you not voting?
No.
You have to
What
vote.
happened-
Oh,
I
you're not
know.
voting for,
What
okay.
Yeah.
happened to Mr. Wolin?
He left.
He left.
Oh,
And who is against the motion then? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a split vote, is it?
So it's, if it's 4-4, the motion dies.
It's rejected.
Right.
no.
No action.
Yeah.
It's
No action. No
If
action.
somebody wants to make another
Yeah,
motion,
I'll
you
make a motion that we waive the requirement. I know that the landlord had, we waive that we only give her 50%, and she accepted, I believe, that 50% of her employees should at least be North Miami residents.
Of course.
And
If not
how do
100%.
you get 50% of the employees in there when you give her the money, and she's already got the money? How do you get the employees?
This is a
And if she doesn't get
reimbursable-
the employees, we get the money back.
Chief, I
This is a
think we
reimbursable
deal with this. Listen, we deal with the same thing with Polio Tropical.
We have a-
How do you know? You don't know.
All right.
You do a DNA test.
There should be some sort of reporting. What is-
Okay.
Yeah,
wait,
we do a
All right,
reporting with-
wait.
have a process
Ladies and
to-
gentlemen, hold on. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now we have discussion. There's discussion on her motion. Kenny, you were in the middle of.
Nah,
All right, Jeff.
already
Jeff.
pontificated.
Jeff.
I'm good.
Yeah, going back to something Clint said earlier, what stops the property owner from reapplying for 80,000 if we were to approve it?
Let's stop it ourselves. We can-
Nothing.
Well,
But
there
you'd
is-
have,
well,
but
we
you'd have
can-
to, you'd have to grant the same waivers you're granting her, basically.
That's the whole issue the president
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
These property owners
But-
have an obligation also to
but-
improve the damn neighborhood. I mean, you know.
Mary, you're asking for 3 waivers, right?
No, I'm asking for.
Because there's 2 separate waivers regarding the property owner issue. The one is previously granted, and the second one is not being the property owner. So that's 2 waivers. And
The
then
amount.
the amount. But
So
you're
then
not,
I'm
are you asking for a
two.
waiver
I'm
on the
asking-
amount?
No, I'm
Okay.
not asking for waiver of the amount.
So it's just the 2 regarding.
So the amount of the
owner.
grant then would be
Just 50%.
$54,000.
50%.
Correct.
I think before you even vote, you need to ask her
Yes,
whether that's
yes,
acceptable
Yes,
to
there,
her.
yes.
So it wouldn't be 80, it would be 54,000?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Did everybody vote?
4,
Not
so it's the
everybody
same
voted.
exact thing.
Yeah.
4 against.
Well,
Okay.
Mike.
Let's all in favor of Mary's motion raise their hand. Those opposed?
And you too? Oh, okay. So 3 to 5 against.
Well, it's 5-3 then. No?
5-3. Right.
5 people voted against the motion.
Correct.
All right.
You know, members,
Yes.
you know, I see redevelopment happen on the east side of Biscayne Boulevard, but I see property owners put money into their property. This country was founded on you going into your pockets, you save your money, and I don't mind government help, but my God, what's with the property owner over there? I mean, we already gave this guy 1 grant. How many bites of the apple should he have? All right, you know, what's fair is fair. I kind of like to start a business, and I don't have a problem with her going to the Small Business Administration. But how about the property owners over there? Isn't it incumbent upon them to spend some money to improve their property? You know, I look at that Denmark property over there. I agree with what you're saying, and I don't mind, you know, kicking in a few bucks here and there. But it's a darn shame, you know, they keep coming back to us. This is a shame. This property here is a shame. The landlord, the property owner, should be investing his money in it. This is a capitalistic country. Well, all of a sudden, the money is going to come from the taxpayers. Come on.
I can answer that. I can answer that, Chief. Let me answer that. Let me answer that question. First of all, the property owner is not asking for the money. The property owner, you have a tenant that's asking for the money for interior-wise. So the property owner is not asking for money in this case.
Now, we're going interior.
This is interior. So the property owner is not asking for any money in this situation. It's the tenant. And I think that whether we You got empty bays. If it's not this client, somebody else is going to come. And if there's no funding someplace, somewhere, then we're going to have blight. That's what we're going to have. The difference between 7th Avenue and Biscayne Boulevard is this. We were able to bring in anchor stores. When Navarro, and I was there at the meeting, I worked to get them there. I worked with the owner. Navarro had 3 places to go. I lobbied Navarro to come in. After Navarro came in, then and only then did Five Guys Burger, Tijuana, that's the only time anybody else came. That's the difference. So it's no, the individual sold it, but unless you get something going, it's not going to happen.
Mr. Manager, let me get this straight here. Did not that shopping center get sold, and did not the new owner of that shopping center start to fix up that shopping center cosmetically, put new landscaping in there, put up a fence behind it, and everything else? And he also and that was one of the ways Navarro came in there, because that guy fixed up that.
No, Navarro was the one that did all of that.
That's not the issue we're discussing, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair.
Yes.
Just for clarification, because I don't feel good about the motion I made initially, but one of the grants we do have available in this city is the Business Attraction Grant for interior built out to specific types of business moving into the city. This applicant would have applied for that and qualified for that type of grant. There's no limitations on that grant. There's nothing having to do with the owners.
Is that through the CRA?
Yes, that's one of the grants we have, a Business Attraction Grant up to $10,000. Because all that was submitted to us was interior improvements, which is exactly what the Business Attraction Grant is for. There was not any exterior improvements, and I go back to my original point. We could have saved this up a lot of times if the city staff would properly vet these applications and instruct the applicants on what the proper grant to apply for is.
Clinton, we did. That's not what the applicant wanted.
In fact,
She
members of
shouldn't
this
have been able
committee
to.
even made that.
Understand that she's coming for waiver. So I
Right.
get your point, but she's clear. She understood.
Right,
She
no,
came for
I mean,
waiver,
I feel
and we-
really bad because I 100% agree with Mary about attracting business into the city.
Yeah, I can tell you, Clinton, that staff, and if I can tell you what I did. I brought this applicant before you, and I'm going to take this applicant before the board, irregardless of your decision, because I believe in it. I have an issue on 7th Avenue, and it needs to be addressed. And this applicant, $10,000 would not have done this applicant what they needed.
Well, except
So,
as a business owner, you have to put money into your business.
I think you're talking about two different things. You're talking about the building owner, and you're talking about the tenant that's coming in. The tenant that's coming in is entered into a long-term lease. I made sure of that. They're going to be there. Number two, it's for interior, not exterior. But I believe, based upon Hollywood, who's already done this, they got a shopping center on Taft and US 1. The individual went up there, he built this whole place out, it looks nice, he has no tenants. He put the cart before the horse. So now he's got an empty, nice building, nice looking, and it's not going to work. If you have the tenants in there with long-term leases that are going to anchor, then the building owner would be more apt to say, let me put some work into this. But unless they have a tenant that's going to sustain money coming in, it's not going to happen.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem, though, Steve. We gave them money to put in a tenant in Cosmic Cones.
Which is coming.
Okay. The owner, look at this picture.
I mean, that was 5
The
years
owner
ago.
still has not done a damn thing to this piece of property. He's got tenants and he still won't do anything. So I don't.
This
I
issue's
hear you,
passed
Mike,
on.
but like I said, this is, remember, this is reimbursable if she's not doing what she's supposed to do or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a community that's suffering, and most of us don't live in that district, and maybe that's why it's not personal. But I don't even live in that district.
I do.
Okay? Well,
Yeah.
But
but
I
for
don't
me,
agree.
but yeah,
I mean, I've lived there for
it's-
46 years, and I've seen
Yeah.
the same
For me,
thing,
it's
no
personal.
improvement.
But if you have someone that has 25 years of experience that's coming with a lot of energy that is promising to hire our residents in this time.
Yeah, but you know,
but I
again,
mean, but I just hope that we're consistent because we keep this consistent behavior. I just hope that we do that.
all right.
I hope we
Okay,
do
all right,
May I
okay.
make a statement?
You can make it brief.
Originally, our grants, wasn't it just for the facade only outside? Isn't that most of the way?
Yeah.
That's
how it started.
Isn't that the way most of the CRAs work, that you just do the facade
Frank,
on
you
the
want to make
outside?
a 1-minute comment since your name was brought up? 1 minute.
My question was, I thought most CRAs just worried about the outside of the buildings to get rid of the blight. Wasn't that the idea behind most of the CRAs? We didn't do internal improvements. I thought, like the city of Miami, their CRA was just for the facade, the outside of the buildings.
There's, I think, 206
Can you please
CRAs.
identify yourself for the record,
Yes,
sir?
my name is Frank Schnidman, and I teach at Florida Atlantic University. And I was the initial executive director of and former executive director
Can you
of
speak
the
up,
North
please,
Miami CRA. Okay, I think there's 206 CRAs in the state of Florida. The majority of them do have facade grants as a program that they undertake. And as you all know, the statutory requirement is the alleviation of slums and blight. And the majority of those facade grant programs are external. There are a number of CRAs that also have incentive programs for the attraction of business and the improvement of internal space. They're in the minority. But this is a question for the policy of this CRA.
Thank you.
And the real issue that you have before you is, you're dealing with an agenda package that really does not have a cover memo that lays out the issues that you're being faced with, nor a staff presentation to go along with the applicant's presentation. So that it's really a question of not having the enough information so that you can actually not have to debate and find the information first, but that you have it laid out before you sit down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, we have to move on. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay. Your request is going to be going to the CRA board tomorrow night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have
Yeah.
this, please?
They,
Thank you.
okay.
The
No.
vote was 5-3.
It was
against.
the first vote was 4-4, and the second vote was 5-3.
So,
Not to have.
Right.
so
Right.
it's going to the board without a recommendation from this
Right.
committee, that's all.
Right. Okay. Okay, moving on to item 1.
All right. Mr. Chair, for clarification purposes, now we have to go back to the first agenda package
Right.
because the application was not included in the second agenda package, right?
I didn't get an agenda package.
So Blanca never. You want mine,
Where's
Blanca?
mine? Didn't mail it. I didn't get it.
My dad. What's that? But I'll check on this.
Maybe you moved out of the district, Blanca.
Mr. Chair, on this one here, I think the recommendation from the CRA board was there were some items missing. 3 proposals. He does have 3 proposals. That was absent. And as Mr. Zelkowitz had indicated, there are some waivers that this applicant is asking for this advisory board to consider. So he's already made his presentation. I can only just say in that area, 119th Street is very similar, in my opinion, to Northwest 7th Avenue. He has already done some work there. I've drove down that area. He's done a phenomenal job compared to what it used to be. It used to look like something totally different than what he has now. So it looks more appropriate for a large thoroughfare. We are presenting him back before you again with those items, so it can help the advisory board make a more informed decision.
Thanks. Mr. Zelkowicz, you want to address
Certainly.
this?
Just like to read into the request quickly the memo on this matter. This is a request from Norgetown Cleaner and Propane Gas, which is owned by Abdul Razak Kanani and Shamam Razak Kanani, for additional funds of $30,000 for the resurfacing of the parking lot and curb for hurricane rolling shutters. The property address is 1005 Northwest 119th Street, North Miami, Florida 33168. The owners of the property previously entered into a commercial rehabilitation grant agreement dated November 3rd, 2010 with the North Miami CRA for a grant amount of $56,000, which project is currently under construction. Based upon a letter dated October 21st, 2012, Mr. Kanani is requesting an additional $30,000 to pay for the resurfacing of the parking lot and curb and for hurricane rolling shutters in order to complete the project. Please note that an amendment to the existing grant agreement would be required to implement the requested additional funding. In order to approve the request as presented, the following waivers to the North Miami Business Assistance Program guidelines would need to be expressly approved by the board. Number one, waiver to the $80,000 maximum grant amount to allow the North Miami CRA to provide a grant in a total amount of $86,000. Also, as the current program guidelines require a 5-year maintenance period for rehabilitation grants, it is recommended that the 3-year maintenance period in the current grant agreement be increased to 5 years. 2. Waiver to the requirement that the grant only fund up to 50%, i.e. the 50-50 match requirement of the total cost, as the currently approved scope of work is only for $112,000. In order to clarify this waiver, the grantee should submit an amended scope of work for review and approval by the North Miami CRA staff. And I should note that if they provide an updated scope of work showing that the $86,000 is 50% or less of what the project costs are, that this waiver would not be required. But we still have not received the requested updated scope of work. I believe the request indicates that you've spent over $200,000 on this project already. But let me finish my report, and then you can certainly speak to that. Number 3, a waiver to the requirement that 3 bids be submitted for the work to be performed. As the submitted request indicates that the contractors for the additional work have been solicited and engaged. I've now been advised that that there were 3 bids provided. Provided the staff feels that the bids that were taken are competitive, then this would not be a waiver at this point. So my recommendation is that this is a current grant for an existing project with the additional funds needed for completion. From a legal perspective, there should not be any precedential effect, as the CRA has amended prior grant agreements to provide additional funding for project completion. The waivers are recommended on condition 1 that the amendment to the grant agreement increase the 3-year maintenance period to 5 years, that the grantee submit an additional scope of work for review and approval by the staff, and obtain the 2 more bids for the additional work in order to confirm the engaged contractor provided competitive pricing. And that has already been done, it's my understanding, so we can not have to worry about that recommended condition. That's the legal report.
Okay. Can you come and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Abdurazak Kanani. Property address is 1005 Northwest 119th Street, North Miami, 33168. The question was there, then my total project at the time when I finish it and when I get CO, it's going to cost me total $210,000. So approximately I'm doing around 65% of the investment instead 50% of the investment. And also, since it's only for facade improvement, We also, by the city of North Miami, zoning department requests, and we have to remove our above ground tank to underground tank. And that project costing me $50,000. The reason I did not explain into it because it was not part of that project. But the city of North Miami zoning department want me to remove the tank after 14 months. So the architect and engineer suggested, then we have to go through the process again. It's better to spend the money now. So my tank is costing me $10,000. The installation of the pump meter, electric, and tank is going to cost me $15,000. And the pump meter and electrical, because it has to be explosion-proof light, is going to cost me $25,000. So above $210,000, I have to go ahead and spend another $50,000 to bury the tank underground because of the zoning requirement. And I signed the waiver for zoning department to give me a permit that I will remove my tank in 14 months. So after I signed it, architect and engineer recommend me, then Abdul, is proper time right now to put the tank underground and go through the expense account. Otherwise, I'm going to tear down the parking lot again, and it's going to create another issues. So I take the advice, and not only 210. After that, I'm going to go spend another 50,000. They are already in process. I cannot put my parking lot until I put the underground tank. So tank coming next week, and the preparation and everything, and electric and all these things has to go through, and should be finished by end of the January. That's our target time to finish it. So that project, after I finish it, should be around $260,000. And the city of North Miami contribution will be $86,000. And I brought some pictures to you so I can share with you and show you, if you guys didn't drive by, how the property look in the day and the night time. So this is the same picture taken at the night time, and the picture behind it, it will be taken in the daytime. So this is the look we are going through, and this is the way its operation is going to be looked.
That's the approximately the 10th Avenue side of it. This is the 119th Street side of it, the front.
Not only that, in that we also contribute out of our pocket. We put 6 palm tree, royal palm tree, and LED lights and landscaping and electric cover across the street on the post office. And I also put 6 out of my pocket palm tree on the next door church with the electric and water. And that electric and water run through my meters. So we run through underground line. This is for post office. We put 6 palm trees there. So when you come on a 10th Avenue, you have a grand entrance at the 10th Avenue. It's not only one side because I get the money, so I don't have to create the 10th Avenue impact. The idea is to create the 10th Avenue impact. So when you come to 10th Avenue, you look really very nice. And then also, this is the way we did. So we provide the church also. So you have a 200 feet of royal palm right on 119th Street.
Okay.
And that's all credit go to my architect. I had nothing to do with it. He just draw it and tell me what to do with it. I just follow him.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I do have to leave, but I just want to say again, I know that there are waivers that exist. I'm certainly recommending that this board, consider that those 2 corridors, that area just needs a lot of help. What this business owner has done, it's phenomenal. When I've got people going outside of their boundaries, and what he's explaining here about the tanks, some of this stuff is ongoing. It's unpredictable. I wish that my zoning department would have been able to give him that information initially. Same thing with the lights. We did go back, we did change our ordinance so that the lighting could exist because other businesses wanted it also. We've always have prohibited that type of electronic signage. But these waivers here are minute, I feel, concerning the impact that it's going to have in that area.
Let me ask you a question, Steve. Why the procedure was he brought the packet to us first and then to zoning? Is that how it worked? Or
Well,
planning?
I think that what a couple of challenges happened here. The first time there were some things that was missing, but what he's experiencing ongoing is that there are changes that has to take place in any construction. He's doing a design build. So in a design build, you will have some changes and modifications that have to be made that you don't anticipate. So I think that was one of some of the problems that he had ran into. And when this was brought to you before, it was lacking some of the documentation that you needed that was basically requirements. And now that we have done that, there are still some waivers here, but the tank issue is one that where you have to now bury the tank. That's a big issue, and it does make sense to put that in prior to putting in the blacktop and then putting in the driveway. Then have to come back and tear it up, pull permits all over again. And again, that's just something that's just really transpired since that last meeting that we had coming up to now.
Now, the tank you're talking about is was it a propane storage tank?
Yes, sir.
And that's going to be below ground?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Correct. If I recall now, I don't have a copy of the minutes. We brought this issue up in the October meeting, I believe. And I think at the time what we had asked for, I don't see it here, was actually the specifics on the original grant that was provided. Because our question then was, well, why weren't these things part of the original grant? And the question was, someone else said, was, had they actually started the permitting process before they applied for this grant? Was this grant based upon strictly an estimate by a contractor, or did they know this specifically, what was required? Because I know the code hasn't changed regarding windows. They're saying they needed 4 windows at the time, now they have to have 10. What changed from that original grant to now? The wind codes have stayed the same for this period of
I
time.
think the architect
Would you
answer that.
introduce?
Hi, Victor Morales, 70 Northwest 105th Street in Miami Shores. I'm the architect for Abdul. Regarding the issues of what was designed and what came as changes, there are several things here. The original design that was proposed and brought to the board was not ultimately what was submitted as permit. The reason was, at the time that the funds were applied for through the board, we hadn't gone through a full zoning review at that point. But I have to say that I do a pretty thorough search on what is allowed by zoning. And what we submitted, I'm still convinced to this day that should have been allowed by zoning. Okay? But zoning had issues with particular part of it. We all felt that we wanted to have a presence, not only an immediate intersection, but really all the way to 95. And looking ahead to the point where the state, as you know, has planned an extension between 95 and Milander. So we wanted a tower that went up to 50 feet in height, okay, which was a substantial impact upon that corner. Zoning decided they didn't want it. And I went back and forth and said, well, here's the zoning. It says you have a 50-foot height limit. How is it not meeting that? But Abdul decided he didn't want to pursue it any further, that we just changed the design of the building. At that point, in order to make an impact, we made a larger building, if you will, on one side to have a little more bulk, which changed a number of things, including what we needed to cover and have a roof on. Ultimately, the real change that happened at the end was zoning saying, listen, we're going to let you do this if you make these changes. One of those changes was that you would remove the exterior tank from the property, which frankly I had to agree with. I said, that's fine, you know, he can do that. And just remove it, let's get an underground tank in here. All of these things kind of happened after he had come before this board and asked for the funds. So the original scope of work really got changed by going through this review process with zoning. Once we agreed to go with an underground tank, as you can see, it gets pretty expensive to dig that kind of hole in there. And I was able to convince Abdul that really you should get this done now. You don't want to pour a whole parking lot in here and then come back in a year and tear it up again. Okay, so that was the agreement that he made with zoning, that he would remove that tank. Does that?
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant?
What are we waiving?
Well, I would, before I answer your question, I'd like to ask, are we going to get a revised scope of work that includes the entire project?
Sure.
So, all right.
Sure.
All right, so if that's the case, the only thing we're waiving is the maximum grant
I
amount.
already submitted. But if you wanted, we can just create the another way and just make sure.
Did we already receive a scope of work that shows that $86,000 is less than 50%?
Yes.
No, it's not. I need a scope of work with line items.
Yes, lying down at the end
Yeah.
of the transaction when we get the CO, because it's still project is going on. So at the end, before I get my funding, because they're still holding the $10,000 from the $52,000, and this money, so they're not going to release the fund until I get the CO before they can give me a final.
Right. Well, I mean, in order to answer Mary's question, if we get a revised scope of work by tomorrow, showing us the line items adding up to more than $172,000.
Oh, sure. That I can give you by
then
tomorrow.
We're not waiving the 50-50 requirement. The only thing we're waiving is the maximum grant amount.
Yes.
Because you're going $6,000 over the 80. If you want only $80,000, there's no waivers that would be required. But since you're asking for $86,000, there's a waiver to the $80,000 maximum.
May I ask,
Sure,
are you
please.
willing to take 80,000 so we don't have to wait?
It's really costing me a lot of money right now. And another thing, I cannot borrow money as a Muslim. I don't pay interest on it. So we have to come up with our own cash to funding the project. It's very hard for me to go through $260,000 cash coming out of it. We are a small businessman. So I have to go to my sister and brothers and everybody to make sure they can participate into it. I cannot go to any bank and ask them to give me 0 interest rate loan because as a Muslim, I cannot borrow money on interest. It's a religious law. I cannot borrow money and I don't lend money on interest. So there's a law I have to obey by. So that's the reason I'm doing all the investment in-house. So make sure we don't have to go for the interest issue. And that's what I'm requesting. I know $6,000 is not much, but at the end is really hemorrhaging us. It's really a lot of money at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Well, I move that we allow
Thank
the
you.
waiver and
Appreciate it.
Okay.
I give them a second.
Okay, any further discussion? The only thing I can put is that you guys have done a wonderful job on that corner.
Thank you, sir.
That's
Appreciate
very
it.
You really,
Appreciate it.
yeah,
Thank you,
you
sir.
really made. Now that's an owner who is interested enough to put his money where you know what.
And the only requirement that I have is like Steve mentioned, if you can just have, I don't know if you've provided it, but maybe
We
a
already
more
did, but I
clear-
can submit them by tomorrow meeting before we go to the board. I should have this thing done also.
Okay, we have them.
One more question.
Yes, please.
How much of the original grant has been, is it already expended, all of it?
I went over. Yes,
I mean, you
No,
have to have
no,
staff. I don't do that.
Has he received all of it?
$10,000 still holding it.
Has he received what was the original grant amount, 56,
Yes,
59?
yes. They give me 46 so far.
How much was the original grant?
$56,000. I only received 46, so still holding $10,000.
He's been reimbursed 46,000 so far.
Yes, sir. And the reason they hold it $10,000, they cannot release the full funding until I give them a certificate, complete CO close, open permit close. So that's the reason they're not. And whatever they take, they're gonna hold it until I submit the full documentation.
Another 30,000 is what
Okay.
he's asking for.
All right, so we have a motion and a.
Okay, yeah, just for point of clarification, if in the original one, if we could change maybe our procedure and look at something. If he had come out with the original plans and brought it over to Building and Zoning, and they had approved it, we wouldn't be going through this right now. With all the modifications. In other words, prior to us coming here, if they wanted those tanks below the ground,
I really don't want to tank under the
Put
ground.
those tanks below the ground, and that might have been the proper procedure. In other words, he should have gone to, not him, but maybe we should have in place where, before it comes here for funding, it goes to B and Z. If there's any issues that have to be brought up, those changes could be made at that time. That way you wouldn't have the architect coming back with a change order. You wouldn't be coming back with a change order, you're hitting your client for more dough, and it would simplify the process. No?
It's just the way it works. I mean,
There's always change order.
It's going. They have
There is no constructions without change order.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief.
I I know that, Leslie, but when we're talking about a grant, we were talking about the initial grant, and we could have avoided a lot of
Here's the reason why that you're going to always run into problems. You know, if I take Mocha Cafe, then all of a sudden you had the fire department. All the plans have been submitted. Then you got the fire department who all of a sudden had an issue.
You open the wall and you find stuff under the wall.
I'm sure Durham always had an issue with this project.
No, I already get the approval from Durham. Durham already cleared this thing on my project. I cannot go process until I get the Durham approval.
I wish. Yeah, I know it. I think this board is concerned as advisory board that you don't be caught off surprise. Please don't allow the prior meetings where these two applicants came before you. Certainly they were not prepared. I disagree with Mr. Snidman that the staff didn't prepare you. The purpose of this meeting was to prepare you and let you know what was out there, what's on site, so you can make an informed decision. All that we're saying here is that there are circumstances that we will bring to this advisory board that you may or may not be able to examine, that we would explain them to you here on site. And that's going to happen. And so the best that we can do is let you know what's happening. In this situation, I don't like the fact that these change orders exist or anything like that, and they happen. We will do the best we can, and I know, Clint, I do agree. We will do our best to make sure that you have all of the information.
I just have one quick question, though, about the motion. So really, the motion is only allowing them to go over the 80,000 amount, so it's
6,000.
Yeah, on the proviso that we get the
right. So theoretically, he can get 80,000 at this point, so it's just an additional 6,000.
Right. Yes, sir.
The 80,000 would still need to be approved because it's only been approved for 56,000.
So then we do have two issues. Then.
We would still need, Clint, Mr. Bauer, we would still need a revised scope to go up to 80 because the scope that we have approved is only 112.
Right.
So to go to 80, we would need a scope that says 160. To go to 86, we need a scope that says 172.
Yes, sir. That we can give you tomorrow.
We can't take action on that because we don't actually have that, right?
Well, you're approving it on the conditional that he provides that.
And that was stated.
The waiver existed when we presented it to you until this information here prior to this is what was brought forth. Had we had that, when we set these meetings, because this issue with the underground came in, that was prior to us setting this.
My question then is, will this go forward to the CRA then with a scope, or will it go anyway?
The scope will be, he will be delivering the scope.
By tomorrow morning. By tomorrow.
By tomorrow, he will provide the scope, and then it will go forward.
Right, and I'll be revising my memo for the CRA board. And I presume either the executive director or the director will provide what this committee did tonight, because I don't think the minutes are going to be available.
Right.
And they would only be in draft form anyway.
Right.
So by tomorrow night.
Okay.
So the advice of this board will be a verbal from the staff.
Okay, we have a motion. I believe somebody.
Could I maybe just get a little clarification, because I understood that he had submitted.
Speaking to the mic.
I'm sorry. I understood that he did submit the additional scope of work. So if you sort of take the original scope of work and add what he submitted, you've got the total scope of work, which exceeds 160,000. Or am I wrong?
I don't have that, do you?
Do you have that?
I don't
Put it all together. But essentially,
What will we
it
need?
has been
Will you
submitted.
Get that to us tomorrow.
He wrote a letter, but there's no line item.
I got it. I got it. We get it. We get it
Okay.
done tomorrow.
All right, please, let's move on. We have a motion and a second for the waiver, correct? All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next motion would be to, I guess it'd be dependent upon
I
the,
believe her motion was to
Right, I
approve it with the
included it.
waiver.
Right.
with the waiver. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so we're done.
We're done.
Oh, good.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
If you find that bank that loans you money without the interest, let me know.
That's my wife bank.
That's your wife's bank?
Oh, actually, my wife married to a rich man, so what do you want me to do? But thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You like that?
I like that.
Any other business?
I have one thing to bring up, and I have to leave. Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
I just wanted to bring one thing up, if I could. We are interested in pursuing extending the sunset of the CRA. Dr. Schnitman submitted a proposal to us that I was very interested in pursuing and moving forward with, and I to use him as a service to go down to the county to help us put the documentation together, to appear before the various committees, the BCC, as well as to the redevelopment plan is in that as well. But basically, I think we're more interested in getting that CRA extended, that sunset. And so at our next CRA advisory board meeting, whether we have an item or not, I want to just preliminary plow the ground to your ears that I think this would be a very good move, and for Mr. Schnitman to be at the next advisory board meeting to give us a presentation on his proposal.
That's fine with
Extending the sunset, you said.
Yeah,
Yes.
extending the
And-
sunset.
and-
I thought you said
What is the
we're gonna
current sunset?
It's well, the CRA ends in 2016.
But there is a real process to this.
There's a process to this, and I'm certainly. You have to understand that my knowledge in CRAs, I'm learning. I'm not shy to tell you that at all. Somebody might say, "Well, you've never been a city manager before either," but I did go to school for that. CRAs is a very unique item. It's a very unique business in and of itself, and it takes. It really takes somebody with experience to really get this thing going. At some point in time in the future, once the CRA is extended, you will need a CRA director. One person cannot do this. You will need a CRA director. You will need somebody, when you get some money, you will need somebody that really knows what they're doing. Maybe by that time I would have learned, but it's certainly not a job that one person can do, being city manager and CRA coordinator. You are doing yourself a big injustice.
Because I don't remember, was the CRA set up to be a referendum?
It was set up. I don't think by referendum, no.
No, it was by the through the county commission. And Frank, thank you for being here, by the way.
But did the city of North Miami residents vote to pursue a CRA?
No. It was established
Yeah.
under Florida statutes
Well, I know
by the city council.
I just didn't know if the city actually, the residents had it.
Yeah. What we would like to.
I actually recall something about
Yeah.
voting on it back in when it was established.
No.
It was established under Florida statute.
No, I
by
know
the
that.
city
but
council.
Are you sure the city did not actually put it
No.
out too?
No.
Nope.
And
Doesn't have
Would
to
have
be.
done something.
And now that we got movement at Biscayne Landing, that the difference between the tax and the increment, you now have a baseline and at least something.
The whole CRA document has to be changed.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. And I think that
That's going to be part of what Dr. Stidman is going to.
Yeah, and I think that Dr. Schnidman, with his educational, I mean, he travels all over the world and talks about CRAs. I think that with his experience and background, the fact that he knows our CRA, I think he'd be the perfect one to help implement us moving forward. And we're sort of behind the gate already, I think, a little bit in reference to doing that. So please, let's make sure it's on the agenda for next time. And one of the things I wanted to throw out, and I just looking for everybody's input, I at some point in time, I think that it would be really nice to staff, and I know Dr. Schnibben and Steve for your input on this. I think it'd be nice if we had one of those joint workshops again where we had our advisory committee together with the city council sitting as the CRA board, so that we begin to discuss, things that, concepts and where we're going and working together and that kind of thing. So hopefully we can talk about that. I know, Clint, remember we had those and it was very, very helpful. And I think particularly with the new year and with the sunset coming upon us, that we, particularly with the criticism that our CRA has been under from years back, I think we need to, to do something like that to make sure that we're all going in the right path. So maybe we can make that happen.
This is a very good idea, and this is something that we can undertake once we bring Dr. Schnidman on board as part of the process.
Yeah.
Because not only will we have to re-educate council, CRA board, and the advisory board, but we also have to do workshops in the community.
Right.
So basically, that's going to be part of the process.
And yes, Dr. Schnidman, Frank.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to mention, Mike, that Mr. Chairman, that April 10th is going to be the 2013 Institute of Government ABCs of CRA seminar that's in Pompano, and this is something that board members have attended in the past. And that's a basic way. You'll probably see representatives from 24 different CRAs, and that'll be held in Pompano Beach, April 10th, and that would be a good thing to put on your agenda. I'll talk with you about that. But
if you could send me an email, I know that we had several people who went, and the city actually picked up. Yeah, you went. I went. I think Mary went. Yeah. So I found it very interesting. I think we need to try and do it again. If you could send me an email on that.
I'll do that, because it's important not only for the information imparted, but for the networking with other CRAs.
Right.
And also, it's important because of the fact that you get a chance to just feel the level of activity that other CRAs are involved in, so that you can see what you need to do to strive forward and to feel good about what you've already accomplished, so that it gives you the opportunity to be among your peers.
Right.
Because we can actually do workshops here that it can address the issues of North Miami.
Well, I think too, and we don't have to wait too long in the process to get that joint board meeting together. I know we did it a couple of years ago, and it was very fruitful for everybody. And I think now, with all the things that are in play, I think we need to try and do that again if everybody thinks that's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay.
And it wouldn't hurt at all to have the CRA board themselves sitting around the same table.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bringing the advisory
Both
board
boards
together with the board itself. Yeah. Any other old business? Any new business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Oh yeah, I'll take it.